Hey, Tom.
Hey, JC.
How's it going, buddy?
It's going, it's a thing.
Right? Aren't you excited about everything we have to talk about tonight?
I looked at the rundown and it was a blank sheet of paper.
I was really hoping you'd write some stuff down.
I meant to, but I got occupied by looking for Carolina Hurricanes with 3 names.
That's a solid distraction on a week where absolutely nothing happened in wrestling.
No, I think we got to start looking at other federations or something. Like, I don't know, maybe something happened in the Pakistani Wrestling League or something.
Yeah, nothing happened anywhere this week. That's the thing. It was just a quiet week all around.
Yeah, there's stuff coming up eventually.
Yeah.
So, that's good.
So we should probably
talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Before we do that, Tom, I need you to do me a favor, though.
What can I do for you,
Can you ring that bell for me, buddy?
Will do.
You're listening to the Cheaters Never Pin podcast, a proud part of the Section 328 network, bringing you all the best in wrestling from WWE, New Japan, and beyond. Now, live from ringside, it's Mr. Workrate and JC.
Buddies, welcome back to the Cheaters Never Pin podcast. It's good to have you here. I'm JC. Here next to me at the commentary table to the stars, my good buddy, Mr. Workrate, Tom.
Another week of Graps goodness.
Can you call it goodness, buddy?
Oh, no one died.
It's okay. One positive.
I know of.
It's true. We don't have the 10 count anymore, so I'm not actively scrubbing for wrestler deaths.
Yeah. That was a morbid, fun thing that we used to do.
Right. So as we alluded to in the opening, nothing happened this week anywhere at all. Like, I can't think of one thing that I want to talk about. Which is really great as a listener who sit there and be like, ooh, I'm really excited. Cheaters Never Pins back in my feed. What are they going to talk about this? Oh, wait, nothing.
New Japan had that kind of odd little card that they had with, I don't know, it was like some kind of convention or something.
Oh, they had the Strong Style Evolved over with Rev Pro.
Oh, yeah, there was that too. I'm sorry. So,
was there something else?
Yeah. Kenny Omega set something up with, I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. In Daytona with a CEO. Yeah. So they had a little card down there. Oh, with a sexual predator on the card.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. I don't expect Kenny to background check everybody, right? And the promotion produced the dark match CEO, so they should have known better. People came real hard at Kenny, and I get it, and it's gross, and the VOD, they should just cut that match off and be done with it. And Kenny apologized.
Yeah, Kenny came straight out and said, that's my bad. Not necessarily, it's not his fault necessarily. He admitted, hey, it's not like I was doing that, but he didn't take the blame, but he took the blame.
Yeah. Just retcon the match and be done with it. That's the answer here. There's one segment down. All right, what's next?
Good night, everyone.
Today's the birthday of Adam Cole, baby.
Bye.
2 segments down.
Okay.
I guess World of Sport released a teaser that I did not watch, but I saw that they did. I hadn't gotten around to watch it yet.
It's British. Don't you watch all that shit?
But there's all right. I don't even know what the talent list is for World of Sport.
That's your gimmick. Johnny Saint's going to be wrestling.
He works for WWE. Wade Barrett's the executive and commentary, whatever that means.
Means they needed somebody that mainstream people knew.
Yeah. Well, so they've got Ospreay and they've got Ghetto. Or not Ghetto. Grado. Sorry, my brain started leaving out consonants.
I was going to say, we're establishing that mid-90s junior heavyweight division, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I
Is
think Dave
Gedo going to
Mastiff
go
is-
back to his original style of like the jet blonde hair and like the pajamas?
Yeah. Yeah. Davey Boy Smith's part of it. Not Davey Boy Smith.
Oh, Junior.
Thank you. Who else? Dave Mastiff. I think that's it that I know on this list that I'm looking at. Everybody else signed their NXT UK contracts.
I was going to say, it sounds like anybody who kind of had that New Japan affiliation or something like that kind of leaned into
Yeah.
World of Sport, I guess. I guess that's the thing. If you don't want to lose your New Japan placement and potentially sign on with, because I guess that's kind of your decision at this point is, are you going to do something like World of Sport or are you going to sign WWE? I mean, the independent scene there, I mean, I guess it still exists, but I mean, if you're a mainstream star,
Right.
and it seems like WWE is not even necessarily going for mainstream stars at this point because,
No.
I mean, they're trying to fill the promotion.
Exactly. He's setting up his territories. That's all Hunter's doing. Let's see. What else is there? Oh, yeah, the second season of Glow debuted in the last week.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. I've heard it's better than the first.
I 100% agree. I finished it. And, yeah, 100. Like, the first one was great. This one's super great.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, I enjoyed the first season very much, so I'm looking forward to that second
Yeah.
season.
Once you finish it, we'll talk about it. But yeah, definitely worth a watch. Like, I love how much that show, like, it's tangentially about wrestling. Right? It's more about the characters than it is about wrestling. But as a wrestling fan, it adds that's a nice background layer for us, right?
Right.
Another bit down. Checking off the list. Okay. Pulling back the curtain here. I'm just scrolling through Reddit, seeing if there's any headlines here that you're going, ooh, that's something we need to talk about. Most of it's like, here's a GIF. When the entire front page of Reddit is, here's a GIF. It's not been a busy week.
All right, so let me throw something at you that you'll yell at me about.
Okay.
Then.
All right.
Something I actually brought up earlier on Twitter, at Mr. Workrate, at MR Workrate. So I kind of follow Dave Meltzer, and I've gotten to the point where I've muted him
Okay.
on my main feed, but he still comes up in. I use TweetDeck, so I have like
Like a whole wrestling
lists.
column. Yeah.
lists that I can follow, and he still comes up on that. And every once in a while I'll look over because Meltzer, for every good tweet, is about 5 tweets quote tweeting somebody who's arguing with him. And it drives me nuts.
I agree.
And what it is a lot more recently, because I can't think of the name of the podcast, but Bischoff's new podcast.
83 weeks.
Yeah. Is basically him coming back against people that are like, what would you know because Pritchard or Bischoff or Vince Russo said it and you say something different. Obviously they know more than you because they've run a promotion and you haven't. So what hell do you know? You're just trying to hang on their dick and, just constant stuff like that. And the thing that always gets me about that, because, he'll be like, look, I just reported what it is. If you believe them, then, that's your problem, not me. Is how it fascinates me how easily these guys will latch on to people, especially like Russo was the worst for this, I think. But Bischoff seems to be playing the role pretty well as well. This is still wrestling. And you've got people like the three of those guys that I mentioned, all of whom who do podcasts. I don't know if Russo's podcast still exists anymore because I know he got in trouble because of it. They still are part of the industry. So it's still in their best advantage to kayfabe the hell out of other people. So, yeah, they're not going to admit when certain things go wrong, or they're going to put themselves in the right position. And Pritchard's notorious for this, and that's how I've gotten out of listening to him, is he'll turn around and, like, when it comes to a particular question or some kind of possible error in judgment, or what were you thinking of when this happened that didn't go over that well, or whatever, Conrad will say something like, well, this is what was said in the Observer, and then Pritchard just goes on this full-blown, screw that guy, what does he know, we intentionally wanted to do it that, whatever he wrote, it was really the opposite, and, we really worked him, and we meant to do that the entire time. And it just, I don't know, it fascinates me that people that have gotten this interest in wrestling, again, by reading the dirt sheets and the internet, getting all these news and rumors, then turn around and just latch on to the people that are telling the stories and kayfabing them and swearing that they're the best things to happen because somebody actually in the wrestling business is actually potentially communicating with me on Twitter so he can be my friend and we'll take his side. Mm-hmm. Like it gets me. It's fascinating to me how these things work. And it's this belief that, like, Pritchard, who, like, first started this podcast telling stories, like kind of insight into the background, a lot of times now is just kind of telling the story that he wants to tell. He's not necessarily giving the insight. He's giving insight in certain situations, but he's also covering his own ass in a lot of others, just by doing a few funny bits and that type of thing. And people are taking it for gospel now. And it's becoming one of the bigger works in the industry again. And it's fascinating to me. But
yeah, I think so. Those guys, like you said, the ones that are on the podcast, Bischoff and Russo and Pritchard, ultimately, they're still workers. They're still marks for themselves above all, because that's the nature of the business. I think Meltzer, especially as time has progressed, has become a mark for himself as well.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't want to see any other side of anything than, oh, this is what Zack Ryder texted me. Well, okay, Dave. But, like, who the fuck cares what some guy who never makes TV says, right? He doesn't know. Yeah, he's at the building and he's there, but it's this vicious cycle of Dave just reporting stuff, and then half the time him reporting great insight that an idiot with half a brain could figure out by just watching the product and being like, scoop, I got a story. You're like, Dave, we all know what the stipulation for this chairs match is going to be because they hit each other with a chair. Like, I've watched wrestling, Dave. I know, buddy. You don't have to act like you're a genius. That's what annoys me the most about Meltzer. But it's becoming this spiraling circle of self-fulfilling prophecy of everyone just yelling at each other. Wrestling media has now become what news media is. It's not, I don't want to report things. It's, no, we're just going to scream at each other all the time and nothing's going to get solved or be reported.
Yeah, and I think, too, that, like, this all started years ago with, the shoot interviews. Like, you'd get an RF video or something, and then you'd find that some manager, like Cornette or somebody like that, does a shoot video. Eddie Gilbert did, like, one of the first shoot videos where, they're cutting through the crap and they're actually telling what really happened. So, and that's what this belief has turned into since the curtain really has been pulled back a decent amount on the business.
Right.
People are still looking for that kind of insight. And the reason why Pritchard especially, I think, appeals to people, and it's one of the appeals to me, was that he still gets to talk about the 80s and 90s, like pre-Attitude Era. I mean, he talks a lot about the Attitude Era, but I mean, even before that, in the 80s and 90s, where the insight isn't necessarily there. It's like when these shoot videos were coming out in the late 90s, they were talking about the late 90s, and then they became very common. So you got shoot videos from pretty much anybody who ever worked anywhere. So you knew about all the inside dealings in ECW, and you learned about, the later days of WCW and independent shows and that type of thing. But it was still pretty guarded in the 80s and even, before that. So that's where those shoot videos actually paid off. And then you had Bruce Pritchard, who was handling the book and doing all those things in the 80s and the early 90s that had this insight. So it's like, oh, cool. But a lot of those shoot interviews, if you watch those tapes, are kind of boring. They're interesting stories, but a lot of times it's just a person who's just like, got a beer or a cigarette or something like that. And the person's feeding them questions.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, this is what happened. And that's it. And it's, it's hit or miss a lot of times. Pritchard is an entertaining storyteller. So that's what it turned into. Pritchard went from, okay, I can sit here and bullshit and tell some stories, to let me ramp this up to 10 and absolutely tell entertaining stories, and I'll throw my little impressions in there and people will dig that. And that's it. The whole shoot aspect is lost, but we're still a lot of people are still seeing it as total shoot, total gospel, because God damn it, that dude worked in the industry. Whereas, in the past, if some guy that worked in the 80s or 90s was telling you some stories about stuff, you'd be like, is he just kayfabing us, or is he actually telling us the truth? But now you've got a ton of people who are being worked again, and it's like the whole vicious circle is starting again, and it's funny in a way, but it's also kind of maddening because the internet in general and having to deal with some people. Not people listen to this podcast, of course.
No, you people are champs. We love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's annoying. All of them are annoying. I listen to all of them. So, Tom, we got a pay-per-view coming up in a week and a half.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. I want you to guess how many matches are on the Extreme Rules card.
As of right now, as we speak.
Yep, right now.
Let's see. We've got 10 days or so. So I got to figure there's probably about, I'll say 5 matches.
There are 9 matches announced for Extreme Rules.
Okay.
I could only think of 2 off the top of my head. That's how just boring this build has been.
But they're all Extreme Rules matches, so
there's
going to be some flaming tables. And
out of the 9 matches, how many have stipulations with 9 days to go?
All of them.
2. 2, Tom. 2 matches.
Okay, then stop calling it Extreme Rules.
Thank you. Just use gimmicks as a blow-off. So Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax is an Extreme Rules match. And then you got Ziggler and Rollins in the 30-minute Iron Man match. Which is going to be dope.
Yeah. Oh, and Alexa and Nia don't like each other in real life now. That's totally not a work.
Yeah, absolutely. They totally probably still don't ride together.
I remember seeing a feed from somebody and they're just like, oh man, no, it's real. Cause somebody unfollowed Alexa. But Nia unfollowed Alexa and kind of deleted any of the pictures that they had together. And then, like, a bunch of other people started following it, Alexa. Like,
well, because it's, it's
real.
It's Twitter, so it's real. It's not that fake stuff on TV. Yeah. Oh, Insta's worse. I don't care about this card at all. Like, I'm excited to see Ziggler and Rollins because that match is going to be great. The rest of it, I don't care about. Like, AJ Styles and Rusev. Okay, Rusev won a number one contender match. They had an okay segment Tuesday night. That was cool.
I mean, I'm happy to see Rusev, like, near the top of the card.
But, like, Rusev's not going to win.
No.
So, I don't care.
Yeah.
Hardy and Wyatt versus the B team for the Raw Tag Team Championships. The B team's kind of a cool story, like the underdog story, but I'm like, okay.
So, just to back up real quick, I saw a tweet on Twitter that said,
generally where they are.
What now?
I said that's generally where tweets are.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was important for you to contribute. Where the person said, does it concern any of you that Rusev and Aiden English are just Wario and Waluigi, but attractive?
That's good. That's funny.
And I read it and I laughed and I'm like, oh my God.
But it's right.
Yeah. So Aiden English will not be in WWE 2K19, I guess, because Waluigi got screwed out of Super Smash Brothers, the new one.
If you were to make WWE kart, who would be the best character? Who would you drive as?
I'd go with Rusev. You're not knocking that. Rusev's got to be the Donkey Kong, right?
Oh, yeah, Rusev's on a tank, obviously, because he's Rusev. Right. And that's amazing. Jeff Hardy's just on a dirt bike.
Jeff Hardy's just running.
Carmella and Asuka. Cool.
Oh, right.
This one, I mean, this is pretty interesting. The Bludgeon Brothers versus Team Hell No. All right.
That's different.
Let's see where they put the belts. I could see them switching the belts here. But
yeah.
I don't know if it's the right choice, right? I don't know. Is there a long-term plan for Team Hell No? I don't know.
I was going to say, just in the short term, have them win the belts and then have them lose the belts the next pay-per-view.
Right. Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. The Big Dog and Bob. Who just have the worst build that makes Roman look like such a fucking heel.
Well, we got to watch it because maybe it'll happen now. Maybe. Maybe.
Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke, which is a great build since, Shinsuke's been out for 2 weeks.
Damn dogs.
And then Finn Balor versus the Constable.
They've been having a little back and forth on Twitter.
Yeah, they're both entertaining. And Corbin's done all right lately, so.
I like the fact that kind of Corbin went off on him on Twitter and talking about how, like, he just made one phone call and he was in there and, like, Finn had to wrestle for, like, 10 years. And Finn's like, wait, you called them? Because they called me.
Yeah.
Like, aha.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll have some stipulations shoehorned in when Vince remembers this week coming up.
Spin the wheel, make the deal. God damn it. It's Extreme Rules. We need Papa Ray Dudley.
Oh, God. No, please. He's too busy
Bring
over
me Mae Young.
Vince, she's dead.
She was alive before?
Yes.
We could recreate the Katie Vick angle.
Oh God, with Mae Young. All right, if you were going to shoot a Katie Vick angle with Mae Young, who plays Kane and who plays Triple H, or who's in those roles, I should say. Tom, out of the entire active roster, who do you want to see rape a corpse?
Aiden English? I have no reason for that selection.
I was going to say Connor. Just give him something to do.
That's believable.
Oh, man. All right. What else? You got anything?
Fire Pro still comes out next month.
Yep, Fire Pro. We're going to play it. I think we talk about it every week.
Yeah. We need content most weeks.
Yep.
I got MLB The Show.
Ooh.
So I'm actually doing something with the PS4 now.
I'm now playing Destiny on 2 platforms. That's the thing.
Alcohol's a hell of a drug.
Yep. Well, this has been a fun 26 minutes. So the next 3 weeks of this show are a little kind of up in the air because I am going to be out of the state. So follow us on Twitter at CheatersNVRPin and we'll figure out something will happen. There will be content. It may also be 26 minutes long, but we'll have to talk about Extreme Rules. We'll have to talk about Extreme Rules. So we'll make it work. Even if we have to have this produced off-site.
In Korea or something. Or we're not having an anime.
I was thinking we both call the worldwide headquarters and they produce it for us.
Okay. Maybe Mike will be back from whatever country he's in this week.
Yeah, he's out. All right, Derek. We need you, buddy. All right. On that note, I think we should wrap up this episode of Cheaters Never Pin.
Sorry if your commute was short this week.
Yeah. Hopefully traffic was good. If not, just play us again.
It's a holiday weekend, so
that's the other thing.
My commute has been kind of short. So
yeah. And also with the 4th happening, of course, nothing was going to happen this week.
No.
Like big news wise. So
no. Apparently on the network you can find additional footage of Lex Luger slamming Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid.
Well, as there should be.
Which Charlotte Flair will remind you happened in 1776.
And then people took her seriously.
And corrected her.
And then Heyman's like, no, Charlotte's right. And people were like, no. I'm like, oh, people.
I like the one dude, he actually humble bragged. Like, no, it happened in 1994. I was there. And Charlotte Flair's like...
That's the one she quote tweeted, actually.
Yep.
That's all
like, nope, 1776 when Paul Heyman...
Let the lanterns tell us the British were coming.
Yeah.
Oh.
Excuse me, if you will, sir.
Lighten up,
British are coming.
If I may have a minute for a parlay, sir. All right, Tom, tell the people where they can find me on the internet.
Go to the Twitter machine at Mr. Workrate, at MR Workrate. Yeah, that's it. I keep trying to think of some other place to find me. You know, you just hit Mr. Workrate. You can generally find other stuff. That's my PlayStation account. That's Xbox. I've got like a Snapchat if you're really into that stuff. But
if you just Google Mr. Workrate, it's the first hit.
There you go.
So that's all you got to do. You can find me on any platform where finer social media is pervade at JCBobbitt, JCBOBBITT. Find the show on Twitter at CheatersNVRPin. That's probably
we're not on Twitch this week.
We're not on Twitch this week. We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's about it.
I just didn't really want to.
I didn't feel like it either. It's a lot of work on my end.
I mean, we were going to do this yesterday and pull behind the curtain a little bit. My wife works in a comic store, Ultimate Comics. Go see her. And we had a midnight release for the Batman 50 issue, which is the issue where Batman and Catwoman get married.
Maybe.
Or their wedding issue, I should say.
There you go. It's a USA Today spoiled it, so it doesn't matter.
New York Times spoiled it.
I was at the time I thought it was USA Today. Sorry.
No, there's the Times.
Gotcha.
But if you are a comic fan and if by some chance you got pissed off because you read a spoiler for that, actually read the comic. It's done really well and builds like good comics do, builds to another story.
That'll totally culminate in like issue 100.
Yeah, sure. But yes, we had the midnight release of that. Also, Captain America #1, which landed on July 4th, which also happened to be the in-canon 100th birthday of Steve Rogers.
Oh, that's cool.
So
neat.
That was the thing. So we had that midnight release. So I ended up going to sleep at like 1:30 in the morning, then woke up early because the comic store then opened at 8 a.m. and we had a actual wedding take place at the comic shop for the whole Batman Catwoman thing.
Neat.
So, yeah, I was pretty spent on Wednesday. So looking at the potential of doing a podcast that evening, I was like, yeah, I may end up falling asleep during Potter. So I asked to push it off.
And we did.
And we did. And we figured having it on Thursday, people who actually are watching us on Twitch are used to seeing, that Wednesday 9 p.m. time. So we wouldn't necessarily get viewership anyway. So
yeah.
And we didn't tell anybody that we were doing it.
That's true.
So
we'll be back.
Yeah.
And better than ever.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's get out of here. We'll catch you next week and preview Extreme Rules, and maybe there will be some stipulations.
Some rules that are extreme.
Maybe just any rules at this point would be great. So for another edition of the Cheaters Never Pin podcast, I'm JC.
I'm Tom.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.